The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fight.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Flying Lion podcast. A week where FC Cincinnati gets their fourth win in a row now, Sam. Got to be feeling really good about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a hot FC Cincinnati team, got a hot Evander, hot Denke. Like, everybody is rolling, Ryan, right now. And you cannot feel, as good as we are sitting at the top of the table. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in the episode. But yeah, Ryan, feeling good, right? Come on.
Oh, yeah. 4 wins in a row, rolling into the summer. Like you said, we're playing Chicago Fire, so the heat was there. The heat was in the stadium for this one. We're going to give you guys a recap of match day 22. A nice 2-1 victory at home. Second part of the episode, we'll roll into FC Cincinnati 2 playing U.S. men's national team, our jersey swaps, cards of the week. And then, Sam, we do have Hell is Real coming this Saturday, so very pumped about that one. Going to be an awesome game, actually, for this. So recapping match day 22 against the Chicago Fire at home, Sam, first time in 35 days. I think one of the longest stretches we've ever had, between home matches there. 12 of the next 17 games will be at home. So everyone get out there, go to TQL. The summer is, in full swing right now. FC Cincinnati is in the very top of the MLS. So go support this team. We wanted to real quickly shout out Chatterbox Sports again, partnered with them, and you can go and find us on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. But again, covering this game, it was fun to be there. Honestly, the vibes in the stadium, it was great. But yeah, Sam, what were your initial thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, obviously initial thoughts. You're coming into this, and like we had talked about in our preview last episode, another battle against Greg Berhalter, the third time now. And what's funny, Ryan, as we're prepping, for this, neither Cincinnati or Chicago have ever swept the season series between the two sides. So coming into this game, you're trying to think like Chicago needs a win here to continue that streak, or else FC Cincinnati is going to sweep yet another team this season.
Yeah, I mean, counting up the numbers now, I think it's in like close to maybe 3 or 4 teams now that we've swept in the season series. But yeah, I think the vibes in this one were good. You obviously had 3 wins on the road. You're kind of getting through this window where, you had Miles Robinson out. But at the same token, you had a lot of guys that were out. So we'll kind of touch on the lineup here. Sam, we did have a little bit of rotation, as expected. We had Roman Celentano, Luca Oriano. We had Engel, Miazga, Pau, Yedlin. And then we had Buka, Anunga, Evander, Denke, and Kamara. So, I mean, I put out a graphic earlier on in the day because I felt like this was the most likely. I think the only switch, that I might have had was Pau and Yedlin there. Sam, it sounds like you had called that one. But give us your thoughts, I guess, initially when you see this lineup and what you're thinking maybe compared to what we actually saw.
Yeah, obviously the biggest one is Obi, right? Obi being out and Anunga sliding in. As we're recording this today, we got, news of Obi and his surgery successful. So that's good. Hearing about that, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's the biggest change that you see. And then for me, Kamara sliding back into that starting spot, Dotto last start was up top, and then you saw Kamara come in, but another one, Alvis Powell, our guy, last start was May 28th in his only 3rd start of the season. So he slots into that center back role. You see Yedlin out wide, like you said. So those are probably the biggest changes. But Ryan, to me, I think the question has been tossed around there, especially since, we got to see how much money these guys make. Hadebe getting kind of passed up by not only Engel now, but Powell as a center back. What are your thoughts on that for the starting lineup?
So in this one, they didn't feel like he could go sustained amount of time from the start, is what Pat said afterwards. I think that if he's healthy, it's a different conversation. But Pat afterwards is saying, hey, he's able to play maybe 15 minutes. He ends up playing, I think, around 10 minutes at the end there. He's rolled his ankle pretty badly and couldn't really put weight on it. But yeah, I mean, Powell slots in a moment of need. And I think we can all agree that Lucas Engel has kind of solidified his left center back transition role, but may have to stay there as long as Luca Orshano is playing out wide, Sam.
Yeah, I think so as well. But as we roll into this match, Ryan, early FC Cincinnati gets a chance in the 9th minute. We see a beautiful build-up with Evander, and once again, similar to what we saw earlier this season is and haven't seen in a while, honestly, Denke being offside, and you could just see the start of something that was brewing, right? And you'll see it throughout the whole game, but the Evander and Denke trying to find each other.
Yeah, it was a great build-up. It was very reminiscent, I believe, earlier on in the season. I think Corey Baird had a similar play. He's driving through the midfield, slots the ball in to Denke. It was almost reminiscent of that, and you see Evander in a boatload of space. Really that's a theme of this game, and we'll kind of touch on it here soon. But Evander finding space between the midfielders and right in front of the back line. So you see him kind of draw that defender, play it in. Denke's barely off, in the stadium. I'm like, man, I really would love to see a replay. I know you probably watching it. He was off. But yeah, what a great play coming out of the start. You're thinking, man, we have this great crowd, this great atmosphere going on Saturday night on a holiday weekend, and you get this early goal, and then you just can't celebrate nowadays. You got to always look over at the linesman and check. But Sam, 10 minutes later, knocking on the door again.
Yeah, absolutely. This time you see Orshano, and as I'm watching this, I'm sure we were texting back and forth, right? You and I were both like, Evander's wide open, switch play. Like, he's got so much space over there. Orshano ends up switching the play to the other side, and no one is even coming close to Evander. Nobody steps up. He's got acres of space and just slots it into the bottom left corner, Ryan. Just an absolute bullet from outside the 18.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this play was insane. He picks it up a little within the half mark, and I don't know how anyone is leaving this guy this much space. He takes it to the top of the box, and this guy's the most deadly, goal scorer
from outside.
Talk about. We've said it countless episodes now, and clearly they aren't listening, to the podcast, but they should, or maybe don't. Actually, if you're the opposing team, don't listen to this. But
giving away the secrets here.
He goes in and he just rips this beautiful shot upper 90 past the keeper. The guy had no shot. Unbelievable. The XG, if we want to say the expected goals, for this was 0.02. So that's very, very low that he's going to even score this. I think he's got to have the most amount of goals with the least amount of XG, that we see maybe historically, on this run, but 3 matches now in a row, Sam, with a goal for him. He's starting to get into the territory of making some records for FC Cincinnati. But Yedlin's run on that side, I think, is underrated. I think you made a good point here in putting it in our outline. He draws that defender, so the guy has to make a choice. Do I step up on him? Do I, in the moment, have to step out? I believe it was Yedlin alone all day long. I
believe it was Gutman on that side.
It was. Yeah, it was. And props to, Yedlin had a great game. I felt like he actually played pretty solid. I've been giving him a lot of slack over the last several weeks, but he put in a shift. We needed it. We needed Powell and him to kind of combine together, which, they're not typically playing a lot of minutes together. So yeah, great from him. Very underrated part of this goal. But you're up 1-0. You're feeling really good, at home. Now you're kind of pushing, for another one. But Chicago was kind of keeping us at bay, Sam. What did you see in the next play?
Yeah, it was tough. On the other side, you see Chicago coming out with, kind of a chance of their own with Kuipers over the top, and he tries to go around Celentano, and my goodness, what a save by Celentano! Literally full stretch. He's able to get a glove on the ball, and then I believe there's a sequence where he's trying to pick it up, and Matt just kicks it right, and it's a miscommunication. But at least he clears it and gets the goalie box there. But it was a good reactive save by Celentano to kind of stay with the play.
Yeah, no, good shout. I think it's overlooked. Obviously, if you look at the score line, you're not at the game. You're thinking, oh, you're up 1-0 and, you had a goal that was disallowed. But, Sam, if we go into half and you look at the numbers, I mean, we did have the possession. It was starting to get a little bit more even, I'd say, towards that half mark. But the corners, we had 1 corner to their 6 for Chicago. It was like a little bit of, okay, well, we're kind of fending off some things as well. But we still look dangerous. For me, it was a solid half. I think we texted about it and said, hey, we felt pretty decent about it for what maybe we were expecting out of this lineup. And maybe we should expect more. I mean, these guys were playing at home. They were very pumped, I would imagine, to be behind their home crowd and kind of all of that energy. But you made a great point here. And the fact that we've had the lead at half now in 4 straight matches, we end up with 4 straight wins. I mean, that's the key to success right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we've been looking for all season, right? Is that consistency in the first half. I know, for a bulk of, I guess Pat Noonan's coaching career for FC Cincinnati, we've always been a second half team. And so now finally getting that momentum going into the half and be able to try and, one up that, get a couple more goals in the second half. I think we're still trying to find that. But yeah, it definitely felt good coming out of half, especially 5 minutes after.
Yeah, I mean, second game in a row, Sam, where we go up 2-0, 50th minute, just an unbelievable play here for Evander, obviously in finding Denke on the back stick. But underrated in this, if you go back and look at the buildup, Kai Kamara is holding up the ball. He does a nice 1-2 with Evander. If you're watching the TV broadcast, they actually cut away to Nick Hagelin, so you don't really get to see a ton of it. But Kai's underrated in this. He's drawing defenders. He frees up Evander into space there, and he just plays this beautiful ball to the back stick. Denke can just tap it in. I mean, it was just such an unbelievable play. It's been what we've been waiting to see, for a lot of these games, and you've started to see it more here in the past. What would you say, Sam? 6 or 7 matches? Denke Evander connection has just been awesome to see. We go up 2-0. The vibes in TQL were just immaculate at that point.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we scored the goal in the 19th minute, and it was like, man, we haven't sha-la-la'd in a long time, and now we get to sha-la-la twice. Okay, all right. Like the vibes are feeling good, like you said, 4th of July weekend, and I honestly, what we've seen here last, like you said, 6-7 games. Kai Kamara up top, just being able to just be that guy to play off of. I mean, I know Evander turns Chicago over in that sequence, but like you said, just Kamara being there to have as a body for Evander to free up space. Now he's going down the right wing, right? And he's able to take that time. He took a little extra touch too, just to make sure he placed it right. Easy finish for Denke. And Ryan, that's 7 goal contributions in his last 10 matches. 4 in his last 5. Denke is just as hot as Evander is.
Yeah, I mean, between the two, it's like, let's try to outdo each other, in these matches. And I love to see that. You don't see a lot of teams where both kind of catch fire like that. I hope they can both kind of sustain that as we move forward too. But unfortunately, the thing that we could kind of harp on this team is 2-0 leads maybe, or the fact that, hey, we're up 2 goals. Oh man, like, wait a second, so 55th minute, Sam, the ball, it's a very interesting situation. The ball gets turned over. I think Orshano gets kind of caught up. I don't honestly know what he's doing in this moment. The ball's played out wide. Yedlin is kind of a little bit late to get out to it in the box, and their guy plays it right across the goal. I think it was actually Gutman, who's just been having crazy good games against FC Cincinnati. That's a side note. But yeah, plays it right to where Orshano's guy is. And I think Engel goes in and tries to follow the striker, and it leaves that back door open. And there's got to be some sort of communication. I think, is that on Engel, not for telling him to get back, but there was many moments in the game where you kind of see Orshano late to his guy or on the back stick. And in this one, we give up the goal. It's kind of crazy though, Sam. Roman gets a hand on this. He almost makes the save in like a crazy open goal scenario. I think there's a little bit of extra motivation every time that FC Cincinnati plays Chicago, being that Roman is from there. So in that sense, I think maybe he was really going for it. He really wanted the clean sheet. Ultimately, it's 1-2, and what do you expect? The boys are right back in their typical grind. late game, 1-goal scenario. We almost get a third though, Sam. 67th minute. For Kai Kamara, man, this guy's just been kind of unlucky. It was almost like the, Corey Baird, Luca Orishano curse here for a while of they get in such good position, just can't put it away. Kai was just a little bit offside on this play that Evander plays him through, kind of a little chip ball in the back. Kai hits the bar on it as well and then immediately gets subbed out. But I honestly, you're not going to see as much of the stats from him. He does get an assist in this game on a third kind of assist there. But it's the things that don't see the stat sheet and the things like holding up play or drawing defenders in the air that free up Denke and Evander. And when did these guys start going on the run, Sam? When did Evander and Denke start really heating up?
Yeah.
When Kai Kamara came.
When he came onto the team. Yeah. I mean, like we said, he's been a difference maker, and, he gets so close to getting that first goal with FC Cincinnati. Once again, it feels like game after game, he's got, a ball that hits the bar, honestly, almost every single game. But yeah,
he's going to get one.
He'll get one. He'll get one.
But screw me, maybe. Former team?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see here at the end of the game what we got predictions wise. But Ryan, at the end of this game, Matt Miazga, him and his antics almost get himself in trouble and very close to missing the hell is real at the end of the game. For those of you who probably saw watching or didn't, Elliott for Chicago Fire goes in on Celentano and honestly is lucky that he didn't catch him, by his cleats on Celentano. And Matt Miazga didn't really appreciate that, did he, Ryan?
No, we saw it, 2 games ago as well, the same scenario in Yedlin's first over. We see it in Orlando. The guys got each other's back. I'll give them credit for that. But in this scenario, the first thing I see is Matt going and yelling right in the guy's face. And he is so lucky that he's the captain in this match. He's already on a yellow.
Yeah.
If he goes and really gets into the face of the guy, I mean, for a lot of referees, that's another yellow. They give Elliott actually, the yellow for it. I was praying that Matt Miazga does not get a yellow card, because if he gets another one, Sam, he would have missed hell is real in another huge scenario, for us. So he's got to be a little bit smarter. Luckily, we get out of it. I think hopefully everyone's healthy coming out of this one, hopefully too. But yeah, impression-wise, Sam, first team to 13 wins in the MLS this season. For all the, back and forth ups and downs we've had in this first half, we're on top. We're top of the Supporters Shield right now, and it feels good. Say what you want, say what you will about, 1-goal games. They're wins, and a win at home is always a good thing. Pretty cool to see some history being made too with Evander and Denke, Sam.
Absolutely. Always great to I mean, I thought you were about to quote John Mayer there and say what you need to say, But yeah, top of their Supporter Shield standings again. Denke and Evander, Ryan, 6th pair of teammates in MLS history to each record at least 12 goals in their team's first 21 games of the season. I mean, once again, right, game after game, these guys are setting records. MLS records, FC Cincinnati records, you name it, they're probably going to break it. And like you had said, Kai Kamara, he gets his first goal contribution for FC Cincinnati via that secondary assist. Not bad. Yeah,
no, and I honestly, I just feel like the front is starting to gel more. We're starting to see a little bit more of the magic going on. Obviously, Evander's catching a heater, but Denke is right on his heels. So that guy should have been an all-star. I'm going to say it again.
He got snubbed.
Yeah. Now against Greg Berhalter, Sam, the Chicago manager, he is 0-3 against FC Cincinnati. I would love to see that stat, and I would love to see, I'm not sure off the top of my head what it looks like against Caleb Porter as well, but I feel like we're in a favorable margin there. But if we talk about some big headlines coming out of this one, Sam, we really touched on it last match because it really was starting to come to the forefront after the week he had. But Evander, he's building his MVP season. You're seeing it now. He's got the 2nd most goal contributions in the MLS. He's 3rd in goals in the MLS as well. But like I was telling you, he's just got so many other ways to beat teams. And where, maybe Lucho wasn't, this or that, Evander is definitely filled in and been that guy. Top 10 in key passes in the MLS with 47. He's got, I think, what, 3 more players that have more shots than him, but I mean, he's a number 10. He's not even a striker. So I love to see it from outside the box, the ambition, and every time he's over the ball, you feel like something magical is about to happen.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, the stat you're talking about, like, almost 30% of the time he shoots on target, it's a goal. So the conversion rate is there. And then you talk about Evander and Denke and the XG earlier, and the comparison's wild, both with 12 goals, Denke with 10.94 XG. So he's expected to score about 11 goals. Evander is only expected to score about 5. So he's at 4.92, which
That's
is
a wild stat.
It's amazing. You're talking about, the stat of what's the least amount of XG someone's had while, scoring double-digit goals, or, however many goals he's got. Like, it is a record. It's got to be. Like, he is scoring impossible goals by, analytics. Analytics are like, no, he's not supposed to be scoring these. Well,
do you think so?
Yeah.
Sam, this is pretty funny. Like, I was watching this match and you see, like, he's starting to grow a little bit of a fro. Is like Fro Evander, like, I'm just going to keep it growing until he's like not on the heater anymore? Is he going to ride?
Ryan, we've been saying that it's got to be a giveaway throughout this season. There's got to be a giveaway for Evander's Fro. I mean, just pass out the Fros. I think somebody said he looks like Bruno Mars out there.
I could see it.
That's a good shout. Not bad.
The Fellaini guy from Belgium in years past, like, I could see him kind of growing it all the way out.
That was huge. That's a huge Fro, though. I don't know if he's going to surpass that one. Yeah.
It's fun to watch, man. Every time he's on the ball now, like, I'm locked in. And he really looks like checked into every single play. Like, early on in the season, I think he was kind of feeling things out and understanding the moment, but he is in full-fledged, like, he's doing his thing. There are some rumors. Do you want to touch on the rumors here? I had seen about Palmeiras in Brazil, apparently interested in Evander. It's got to be north of 25 million if we're going to sell this guy, or 20. I mean, like, you're in a win mode now. You're in the top of the MLS. You're not going to sell this guy in the summer transfer window.
Yeah, I think the talk is coming out just because Palmeiras just sold one of their best players to Chelsea. And I believe that player, he was loaned, back to Palmeiras this last season, but now he's going to Chelsea here starting in August. So I think they're trying to fill a void there. But yeah, I can't imagine it would be for anything less than, like we said, 25, let's say 30. Yeah. I mean, come on now. But Ryan, 1 goal victory again, dude. I mean, once again, what does it take to, like, kind of break out of this kind of flow that we're in of, hey, 1 goal, we're fine, we're good. What do you think, or what have you seen in the past? Because there's a team that, numbers wise, we're kind of following in the footsteps of.
Yeah, I saw some interesting takes about, is this the Pat Noonan way? Is this the style that he's kind of bringing to us? And not necessarily like we're just trying to squeak it out, but it's finding a way to win. And there's definite times where we can, maybe nitpick and say, hey, play the ball out here, do this and that. We've done that in the past, but at the end of the day, it's becoming historic. So New England Revolution 2021, they were the kings of the 1 goal victory, Sam. They had 18 of their 22 wins, which at the time was a record in the MLS, were just by 1 goal. So that's 81.8% of their wins coming from matches where they barely won. The margins are so tight with that. So if we kind of look at, where we're at as well, that's very paralleled. If we stay on pace, we could actually, outdo New England's 18 1-goal victories.
I think we're at 11 right now.
We're at 11 right now. So it's very interesting. The defense is solid in some ways. We've had to kind of patch mail some of it, and I think that's why you're seeing some of these 1 goal. If you had full strength defense throughout the season, Obi there, everybody there, maybe it's different. But at the bottom line, Sam, you're winning these matches. You're getting the results that you need to. And if you look at the goal differential, we're only at +6 right now, I believe, which is insane because I think the Crew is, or are we +5 or +6? I believe it's
6.
6, yeah. Columbus is like 5 maybe, and they're in what now, like 4th, I believe.
4th. Yeah, they're in 4th.
in the East. So it's kind of wild to see the top team in the MLS with only a +6 goal differential. But at the same token, like you're finding these ways, and ultimately that comes down to coaching and understanding the moments that we've had, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. I think, like you said, if we stay on this pace, it's another record that we'll be able to hold in high regard, because that it goes to show that not only do we just edge stuff out, but that's how we want to play. We want to control the game from one, point A to point B. And so I think, as we continue to go into it, I think 1-goal victory, not that bad, Ryan. Dub's a dub.
Yeah, I mean, you had 4 games in a row where you didn't have a win, and then you go 4 wins in a row. You can't be mad about that. The thing that I saw recently was like, I think we've thrown out like 12 different center backs this year or something crazy like that. So again, you're kind of putting all these players together. Alvis Powell, for those who aren't familiar, not a center back, typically a right back. Lucas Engel, not typically a center back. And you're finding ways, again, to get these guys to play. And maybe last year, Sam, was not the greatest of seasons because of that. But now you're kind of seeing the fruits of that labor where, hey, these guys were put in those positions before. Now you're starting to see maybe that they're becoming more comfortable in those roles. Engel now has, I think, 4 or 5 games where he's been in that center back role. Powell has done it before. Yedlin's done it before. Unfortunately, we were kind of forced in those scenarios, but it's cool to see the message is getting through to these guys, and they're winning the matches they need to, which could be something that could be said about some of the other Cincinnati squads, in talking about the Reds and the Bengals and winning close matches. But Sam, before we do go to our second half, let's hear your trivia question you got for us.
Yeah, so Trivia of the Week presented by Goals TV. How many times in FC Cincinnati's history have they ever had a player score more than 12 plus goals in the regular season, including USL days?
So in a full season,
regular season, full, like just regular season, no
season.
postseason, no nothing. So how many times in FC Cincinnati's history, 12 plus goals?
Are you counting this year with the guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 10.
10?
I want to lock it in. I feel like it's pretty solid. I think Brenner, I think Vasquez, I think Lucho's done it twice. I'm going to go Ledesma, GB. Man, I'm missing Okoli early on as well. I don't know if that adds up to 10. It's probably not close, but I think I'm missing some guys too. King Koenig, maybe I think might have had a season in there, but I'm going to lock it in at that.
All right, Ryan's going to lock in 10, and we'll see what it is on the other side.
Hey, everyone. Just a quick message from Ryan and Sam here at the Flying Lion Podcast. We wanted to share some exciting news with you. The Flying Lion Podcast has officially partnered with Chatterbox Sports. We are very excited to be a part of the Chatterbox community, as they have proven to give you the very best coverage of Cincinnati sports thus far.
For those who are new to the Flying Line Podcast, we cover FC Cincinnati news, game recaps, analysis, and unique segments such as our trivia question of the week, jersey swap of the week, card of the week. Give us a listen on our post-match shows on every away game on Chatterbox YouTube and our weekly episodes wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for your support.
Thanks again to everyone for listening tonight. We again want to shout out Chatterbox Sports for welcoming us. We've honestly had just an awesome experience so far working with these guys. I hope you guys like, our tickers and everything now. We got our handles down below, so go check us out on X. We're going to roll into this second part of the episode where we're going to cover some jersey swaps here on a winning week. Sam, who did you have for your jersey swap?
I mean, mine was the obvious one that I usually, Ryan usually takes the obvious one, but I figured I would take the obvious jersey swap this week. Mine's going to be Evander. 20 goal contributions, Ryan, in 19 MLS matches, 5 goals and 2 assists in his last 3 matches. I mean, I just can't wait to see him show out in his first Hell is Real this upcoming weekend. Him and Denke, like we said, are finding their rhythm. And how do they look unstoppable.
Yeah, they do. Sorry to interrupt. It's his second Hell is Real, but first at home, I think is
Yes.
what you were saying, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
First
so-
Hell is Real at home.
Yeah, and he's riding this hot form too. I think that's what's cool is you roll into rivalry week and you have your best players playing their best ball. So hopefully they can show out. They did in the last match. I think the connection between Evander and Denke led to one of our goals against the Crew. But yeah, I'm excited just to see what he looks like through the summer. And these next several matches are going to define if he solidifies his place in history. Not only with us, but in the league in general. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. Who was your jersey swap?
I'm going to shout out Brian Anunga, Sam. I think this guy had an underrated night for filling in, to Obi's spot here recently. He's really done a solid job working next to Pavel Buka. Sam, in this match against Chicago, he won 7 of 11 duels. He had 13 defensive actions, 8 recoveries, 2 blocks, 2 clearances, and 1 was with his bicycle kick in the box, which was pretty cool. He had no guys that dribbled past him, and 3 passes into the final third and 1 big chance created. So I felt like Anunga did a solid job in there. He's always intimidating to play against. I feel like just being a big body that can track, guys down. But this is the guy that we need, and I'm going to highlight him. Hopefully he shows out, but from this point on, he's going to be arguably the most important player, in our squad, in the sense that there's nobody to back him up right now. Unfortunately, our midfield is very, very thin. Obi's out for a long time, so Anunga is rising and doing that next man up position very well so far.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I mean, Anunga, he is what he is. I mean, he's a force in the middle, and it's ridiculous, Ryan. I mean, at the end of the season, when we're getting towards it, he obviously Obi's going to be gone for a while now. He may end up being your premier signing of the season, just based off of like the contributions that he's made. Like if he's not, in the midfield, like I know we talk about, what the Evander and Denke, what they're doing, but I mean, for as much as you and I, we talk about Buka, right? If we didn't have Buka in the midfield, right? Oh my gosh, like we saw what the 2 games without him does. Is it going to be a similar language that we're talking about Anunga by the end of the season of like, hey, if we didn't have him as a defensive midfielder being that front line defense in front of our center backs, like where would we be win-loss record?
I hope we're talking about how valuable he is. That means that he's continuing to do well. Does he have the legs in him to kind of sustain that? That's where I think we need depth, and we'll kind of roll into that here soon. But yeah, so far so good. 2 matches, 2 pretty solid performances for Brian Anunga. So shout out to him. You are my jersey swap of the week. But on the flip side, Sam, card of the week. I think we have some interesting ones here. Let's hear it.
Yeah, we'll touch on this one a little bit later on as well. But my card of the week has got to be the Gold Cup handball. If you haven't seen it, all over social media and during the match itself, during the U.S. versus Mexico match in the 66th minute, Jorge Sanchez, I mean, he pretty much put his hand on top of the ball and was a textbook handball by the modern rules, if you will. And after the game, fans are going off because the ref ruled it as incidental contact, and he was pretty much just balancing his arm or hand on the ball. Pochettino called it embarrassing after the match and was saying that if that had happened in the other box, it would have been a penalty. So there's always been, in the Gold Cup in these competitions, some sort of bias that is looked at for Mexico in CONCACAF matches. So Ryan, once again, just another one of those things that we're going to look back at this match and go, man, it could have been so much different.
Yeah, I mean, it was in a scenario where at the time it was 1-1. So if you call a PK, it's a different outcome. It's a different way of playing. You still got to play. You still got to work through these moments where everything feels like it's against you. You're playing at home in your home country, but it feels like an away match. Does that play into it, Sam? That's what I'd ask you. And with the way that this game is reffed, I think Chris Richard actually calls out the center referee for it at the end of the match as well. But yeah, if you slow it down, it doesn't look good, man. He literally is trapping the ball. I do think he's falling to the ground, and he's got to be able to brace his fall. You just can't do it on the ball. I mean, I don't know how you don't even, there's not even a VAR review on this. There's not even a look at it. And the guy literally puts his full palm, on the ball. So it's in a final, and that's what really stinks about it. Is it in some ways decides the outcome. History. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, card of the week for you though,
Sam. I'm gonna be a little critical here. So for those who were at this match, it was hotter than can be. The FC Cincinnati against Chicago match at home. It felt like the night got progressively more humid. And for me, I've been calling for this for years. I need some fans in the concourse, man. I need some blowing air. I need some sort of airflow, something. Like, I love that our stadium is beautiful and elegant and has all the amenities, but take a note from the Cincinnati Reds and put some big, fans in the concourse just to cool everyone off. Like, there is no reprieve from the heat. Like, I felt bad for the workers that were working there. I even talked to them about getting them fans. Like, I need something blowing through there. Like, it was just brutal, and it's only going to get worse, I feel like, as the season goes through the summer.
Oh man, it feels like the Dortmund players have been rubbing off on Ryan, guys. I don't No, it was actually funny. I was looking at the agenda here, and you put no fans in the concourse, and I'm like, what is he talking about? No fans in the concourse. But yes, this one makes sense. I'm with you. Maybe the misting, right? Obviously, the misting with the fans,
Good
that
shout.
would be great. The question is, where do you put it? The concourse is already very tight. So do you make the plaza kind of a space for people to go on and just, be able to get out, and have the fans out there? Or do you insert fans? I mean, you don't want fans blowing on people and their food, right? So you wouldn't put it above like concession stand, maybe near hospitality, maybe above like where the restrooms are. There's things we could do here, right? But I'm with you. We need fans on the concourse.
It's an easy thing. Like, if you look overhead, there's like all this wiring like right above. Like, you could easily tie it in. Like, I'll help out if you want me to.
Yeah.
I've been putting it in my survey for a few years now. So hopefully,
I don't know. You and I don't really have the best track record with fans and stuff though. So
True.
Installing fans.
Or just give me like the fan giveaways, like
the little mini fans.
Fan would be pretty solid. We did bring those, so we improvised and we found a way to
maybe get one with the little like FC Cincinnati message.
Yeah. Sam, to your point, I did not retrieve to the team store to watch the match on the screen like Dortmund did or like Bayern Munich did, but yeah, it was a little ridiculous. It was very warm. Again, hopefully that gets addressed. But Sam, we did before this past home game, we had actually a new player signing, a guy who we're very familiar with, Kenji Momba Dem. Shout out, go Flyers! Former University of Dayton product here, was signed I believe last year, had a pretty stellar year for Next Pro, and then gets rewarded this year with a first team contract. It's going to be through the 2025 MLS season, with club options for the next 2 years following, depending on, obviously how he's doing. It occupies an international spot and a supplemental roster spot. So I'm going to come to you about this and see what your thoughts are. Now I believe we got confirmation. This, I think, is putting us right at the limit of international spots that we have on the roster currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting move, considering you talk about all the MLS roster issues that a team goes through during a season, and the fact that it occupies an international spot. Obviously supplemental, that's that's fine, it is what it is, but the international spot is what gets you. And
so for those who aren't familiar, there's 8 that you start with. You can trade these away for assets. So earlier on in the season, we actually traded one away and got some money for that, because I believe Teenage Hidebe received his green card, so he doesn't occupy, an international spot anymore. But now you kind of locked it up, and I don't know if you kind of handcuff yourself a little bit in looking in the international market now, coming up in this transfer window, Sam.
Yeah, like you said, it turns to that. I think with him being selected to the first team 4 times this year, he has got 1 appearance. That was Matagua home game, and then he also had an appearance versus Philly. I mean, this guy, how much is he going to play? That's the question, right? Yes, great. Thanks for coming up and adding some depth into that forward spot, but do we need that right now? Is that where we need depth right now?
Yeah, good shout. I mean, props to Momba Dem. Like, so proud of the guy for getting his first team contract.
He deserves
3 goals, 2 assists in 6 appearances this year for an ex-pro. Like Sam mentioned, has actually appeared in an MLS match. So there is a ruling on this. I went and looked it up for next pro players. If they're going to be signed to a first team contract, there's a situation about how many times these guys can actually play on the first team before they can be, or before I guess you have to sign them. And ultimately just to make sure that they're getting paid properly is really what it's about. But an individual player may be included in up to 4 MLS League season matches each season, but he cannot appear in more than 2 MLS League season matches, in that stretch. So he's already been in 1. If they brought him into another, I mean, you pretty much have to lock him in for being that. So whether or not it's the right guy necessarily, to bring up in this scenario, they bring him up and they almost kind of feel like they probably have to reward him to even put him, on the roster if that's who they wanted. But to your point on, strikers, I think you're loaded at that position now on the first team if you get everyone healthy. I mean, Kubo can play there, Santos, Baird, Sharilla, Momba Dem, Denke, Kai Kamara, so yeah, to your point, and as we kind of roll into this next conversation, the transfer window is looming. So July 24th, the international window opens for us to officially, welcome these new players. We already have 1 guy locked in from Venezuela, but where do we look next and how does this signing kind of affect things? Sam, if I may here real quick, I would like to kind of see potentially one of these young guys go on a short-term loan, and that might free up some space for us in the back half of this season. That would be kind of one opportunity to open up some space, whether that's Sharilla to get him more minutes, whether that's, Steven Jimenez. I think he goes down in injury here recently, or Momba Dem, one of those guys. Does that free up some space? The other kind of touching point on that as well is, unfortunately, Obi is out for a long time. He undergoes this successful surgery today, and we hope that it's a quicker recovery, but everything points towards months, and being a medical guy, I can probably confirm based on, a quad tendon being repaired is going to take a while. So whether or not you designate him for out for the season, similar to a Matt Miazga situation from last year, dictates a little bit more roster flexibility as well. If you designate him out for the season, you open up that spot. But then how does that handicap us for the following season is kind of the question. We saw that with Cheeto and the fact that we had Hidebe, at that point too. It's a very interesting thing. I hate to be in this scenario. There is some ways to kind of get around it and some flexibility, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously we're running into that spot where do you go with long term? Do you go with just short term win now? Do you go with more of the younger, right, kind of approach of let's find somebody who's got potential and, we'll build them into such and such position? Ryan, I think you and I are in agreement here that we're looking at 3 positions here that FC Cincinnati could possibly bring in. That would be some wingback depth, specifically more on that right side, some center mid depth, and then obviously a DP striker, maybe a buddy up there for Denke.
Do you think the signing of Ender Echeniche, does that change things for you? You already have maybe an added piece on the right there if you want to include him in that, kind of like a backup to Yedlin. You have Powell that could play there too. Do you think that changes things?
Yeah, I think it changes things. I just, you don't know what he looks like right now, and he doesn't have any MLS experience. So
Sure.
Would you want more depth of somebody who does have MLS experience? So as you say that, we'll run right into it. Some guys that I was looking at as far as wingback depth or as a right back, left back depth. 2 guys for me were Brooks Lennon, 25-year-old from Atlanta United, would have to be obviously like a trade scenario. And then the second one, another trade scenario with possibly Julian Gressel, who plays now for Minnesota. He used to play for Columbus Crew and Inter Miami at some points in the past couple of seasons. So those would be two guys that could be, that you could slot in, would be able to play right away. You wouldn't have to wait for them to kind of get going and get acclimated.
These are like dream scenarios, I feel like. Gressel just got traded from Inter Miami to Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's probably not moving, unfortunately. But I like the shout. And Brooks Lennon being 25, he's got some experience. Would be a solid option. I think, if we had to rank, we said center mid, we said wing back, we said DP striker. What's your 1, 2, 3 on priority?
I'd probably put center mid at number 1.
Center mid. 100%.
Yeah, number 1, DP striker probably number 2, and then wing back as number 3. Like you said, I mean, we just signed, our guys, or are going to sign a guy. So I think center mid, but you've got a shout here at center mid though.
Yeah, I was going to go with Drew Yearwood, so a former Nashville Red Bulls player. Brian Anunga's former teammate, actually, too. Some pretty solid MLS experience. Doesn't have like fancy numbers on paper, but a guy that you could plug in with MLS experience. He's in free agency right now, so you can bring him in on nothing.
He's been a free agent since January.
So I think like this would be a perfect player. And then I like your shout here if you want to give us who you thought too.
Yeah, so Eric Williamson, former Timbers player, is now at Charlotte. It would be another trade scenario, but used to be a Vander's teammate in the middle there. Could be a good option. Is kind of similar to Yearwood, where box to box / kind of more of a defensive midfielder, and would be able to not only help Anunga, but definitely help Obi there.
I think Williamson was on the U.S. men's, radar until he, I believe, tore his ACL. So he hasn't really found his spot in Charlotte. I think it would be cool to bring him in on a depth piece, and being a Vanders guy, and his buddy from before, that would be pretty special. If we switch to DP striker, Sam, these are again scenarios of like, all right, we're going to completely kind of switch our roster mechanism right now. We have 2 DPs, 4 U22s, but hey, if we want to designate maybe that we're going to go 3 DP, you maybe add a striker in addition to all of these other strikers that we just mentioned. But give me your shouts. We'd love to hear it.
My home run shout, and I know, just let me know what you think, right? I may get kind of cooked for this, but it's a long shot. I'm going to go Dominic Calvert-Lewin. His contract just expired with Everton. 28 years old. He's 6'2", kind of like a younger, quicker Kamara, if you will. And his transfer fee is going to be free, so you don't have to pay anything. But that salary is going to be up near that DP or TAM level probably. So he'll be able to slot in probably late July. And he, like I said, he's physical, he's strong, he's got a good hold up play, aerial threat. Would be a huge signing for FC Cincinnati.
Yes, I mean, 16 million valuation on transfer market, and I think 3 goals, 1 assist in Premier League as well for Everton. So, I mean, that would be a dream. I agree with you. You had another shout for DP striker. I honestly was kind of lost, as other than Thomas Muller seems to be like the last kind of hope that I think that they would consider. But you have another dream player, I think, too.
Yeah, just another Premier League guy. I think you see the season that Crystal Palace had, right? Big name, obviously Chris Richards that we saw. Their striker up top, Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's 28 years old as well, but he would be coming with a fee because he's still under contract there. So be only like maybe 10 to 15 mil. Yeah, just depending on, the pockets there. It'd be less than what Mueller would be. But yeah, I think, he'd be available maybe like early August here. But once again, just another physical target man up top that be able to, complement Denke's pace and good hold up play there.
Yeah, good shouts. I'm really intrigued by this. I think the Obi scenario in the last 2 weeks has thrown a little bit of like our focus on things, but not really. Because I think in the end, midfield is where you got to look. You need some depth there. Is Kubo going to come back soon? Who else do we have, past that? with experience. We really need, I think if you make a deep run, you need to have better depth in that position. Like, you obviously have Dado that could maybe slide back, but he's not really an 8,
He's not a box to box.
And then we need some 6 depth now too. So you need kind of like that 6'8"-ish type player. Before, last year, man, if Weston McKennie had signed, that would have been insane. But there's no chance of that. He re-signed with Juve. So, but it'll be fascinating. I'm really intrigued to see what Chris has got cooking.
Yeah, let's see season start.
Sam, it's a win now mode. You got to go for it. You're in the first position, in Supporter Shield. We were in a very similar scenario last year, actually. Right around this time, you beat Miami 6-1 at home. You're riding high, and then from there, it kind of went crashing down because you had a lot of pieces that were out, and you're kind of trying to piecemeal all of it together. So let's see what this looks like. We already have one guy coming in. That's promising, but stay tuned to that part of things. But FC Cincinnati too, Sam, they get a PK win against NYCFC 2. 5th positive result in a row for them. Stefan Chirillo scores. His last goal was actually in April 20th. He has a turnover that he intercepts and takes it in, has a nice finish on. Good to see Stefan score. He was on a heater last year. But undefeated now in shootouts this season. Wild thing happens at the end of this match, Sam. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so the wild thing about this, obviously, we're like, oh yeah, FCC2 going to shootouts. That's normal, over the past 4 games, right? I feel like 3 out of the last 4. But Evan Loro, he's the keeper in this one, and he scores the 5th PK and then saves the winner. So Ryan, I mean, he's doing it all on, both sides of the ball.
I hear this guy's the PK master. Like, even going back to the last couple of years, I think him and Lucho had some battles in PKs. I think Leroux lives for the PK. I am once again wondering where Alec Khan is. Like, I don't know what's going on with this guy.
He was up in the booth, Ryan.
He was next to Nick Haglund, but
they kept showing him
he doesn't
in the booth.
show up in the injury report. Like every once in a while you'll see him in, like, I think in the videos with the goalkeepers, like, oh, he's there training, but where is Alec Khan?
He's got to be a healthy scratch these days, because I know when you go back and I know it's been a while, but when we talked to Bobby Edwards, right, how crucial Alec Khan was in that goalkeeper room. It's one of those guys that you just got to keep around.
Good shout. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack, from the FCC too.
No, I mean, he's helping those guys, obviously, though, because the keepers are unreal. But yeah, FCC 2, they play Atlanta 2, actually here on Wednesday, away. So we'll see if they can continue their good form, maybe a 6 positive result in a row. They sit at 11th right now, so that's, I believe, 1 spot ahead of, I think they were 12th last episode. Correct. So hopefully we can continue and keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun to kind of see them rise to the occasion here in the last month. But Sam, you touched on it with your card. Unfortunately, U.S. men's national team comes crashing down in this Gold Cup final against our rivals, playing again in the U.S., but feels like it's away. Last major competition before the World Cup next year. Kind of leaves a little bit of salt in your mouth there. For our guy, Miles Robinson does not get to play like any minutes, in this one or in the last 3 matches. But at the same time, he's healthy, hopefully, from what we know. He's still training. He's still hopefully keeping his fitness up that way. So from that perspective of things, that's good to see. You always want your U.S. team to pull it out, and this tournament was just such a hodgepodge of big headline stories and
drama,
guys that maybe had claimed positions, but not. If you go and look at who started in this match, Sam, and you look at the back line, I don't know how Tim Ream you can pencil in as a starter. So if you can't pencil him in as a starter, well, why not start some guys that may have a chance of playing in the World Cup next year and maybe building some of a relationship with Chris Richards? I don't know. Maybe he goes with Ream at the ripe age of 38. But
Yeah,
in this match,
yeah.
he gives up that goal to Jimenez because he doesn't step fast enough. So, I mean, obviously we're biased, but I think Miles needs a little bit more of a look at that stage. It's unfortunate that we don't come away with it. Mexico wins the Gold Cup in back-to-back years for the first time since 2009 and 2011, but they're not going to be playing again until September 6th. So they're playing South Korea in a friendly at that one. But like Sam mentioned, is friendlies from here on out. You don't really have any meaningful competition before World Cup comes next year.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at the squad, the players that didn't show up, the players that did, and going into that friendly, it'll be very interesting to see what kind of squad is chosen for those friendlies that they'll play there.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, again, this is a positive episode. We wanted to just recap that. Obviously, our guy was playing there, and we're big U.S. guys, but at the same token, Hell is Real is coming to town, Sam. This coming Saturday, we got an orange out. Everyone was listening. So theme nights are back. I need to see more of these. Everyone, please wear their orange to this one. It's going to look incredible. It's just going to be an awesome kind of setup here. Last time we played them 1-1 tie up in Columbus. Now we're back home. They're just coming off of a 1-1 tie at Seattle. We want to shout out some prayers for Stefan Fry. If those, listening didn't see it, fortunately he kind of gets knocked out in a play where he's going for a ball in the box. He has to be taken out on an ambulance actually, but did at least today come out and say that he's doing all right. And he's thankful, for all the help. They decided to kind of end this match at the very end. It was a very odd scenario, but it'll be kind of interesting to see the crew following what just had happened in that match and now coming into rivalry week. And I think it's always interesting to me, Sam, when Hell is Real hits for the second time. Typically, it's right after Leagues Cup. This time you get it before Leagues Cup. So I'm kind of excited to see what we look like coming off of 4 wins, being at home, and now we got Miles back. We might have Flores back too. We're getting a little bit more depth there. I'm feeling pretty solid about it. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're FC Cincinnati, this might be the best you've felt coming into a Hell is Real, to be honest with you. I can't remember the last time that, yes, we're missing Obi. Yes, we're missing like some of our depth pieces in the back due to injury. But honestly, starter wise, I think we look really, really good than we have in the past. Some of the past times, just mid-season, right? When we play the crew, usually we're coming into the match limping a little bit, missing this person or that person, and we kind of have it as a crutch just to use just in case. But I think Ryan, as far as lineup wise, I think you see Engel continue to be in the back there. You see Robinson slot back in, so that'll be Engel, probably Miazga, and Robinson in the back there as the back 3. Who starts on that right side? Not sure, but Orshana, you got to keep him on the left side as he adds that speed to the left side. I think probably Yedlin on the right if you had to guess. But then up top, do you go with Dotto or do you go with Kamara? I think in this one, you go Kamara again just because of what he's been giving you, and obviously give him a chance to start against his former team.
I think there's extra motivation there for sure. I think the way that it ended in Columbus was not as great for him, and he's always got, I think, a special place for up north. But he's going to be playing extra motivated in this one. And Kai's been unlocking things like we've talked about earlier on in the episode. So I look for him to have a big turnout in this match, and I look for Evander to make even more of a statement. I think honestly, if you look at kind of the scenario where the crew are coming in a little bit banged up, Sam. I think Patrick Schulte, their goalkeeper, has been out for a while. Maybe he's back. They've been kind of in a rut of sorts in terms of some of their fixtures here lately. But I think more important for me than anything was you see the Chicago match end, and there's an interview that I believe Carter goes and asks Pavel Buka, and Buka goes, "Our minds are already on Hell is Real." I think that's everything you need to know. These guys now understand the moment. They understand how big this is. You've already had one where you kind of made it through, you tied and kind of said we survived, but how can we now take it to them? and that's the next step. So in the prior, edition of this Hell is Real, there was a midweek match actually prior to Hell is Real on a Saturday. So finally we have a full week of build up to this huge matchup, of perennial Eastern Conference, killers here recently in the past few years. So I'm very excited for it. And like you said, with having the guys that we do back, I'm feeling pretty good. Now we got to go out and do it. Now we have to go and take it to them and play more than 70 minutes, Sam. We looked really, really good against Chicago, I would say. Maybe not like the best, but really good for a solid 60 minutes. And then they score, and we're kind of sitting back in Noonan ball again. But let's take it to them for a full 90 at home. And I really feel like the guys will hopefully rise up to that occasion.
Turn me up, Ryan. Turn me up.
I'm ready to go.
Turn me up, boy. I like it. So prediction-wise, coming into this one, I'm going to go 2-0. FC Cincinnati at home. TQL is the fortress this year. Only time FC Cincinnati has ever held a clean sheet against the Crew, 2017 Open Cup. The very first time we played them. Ryan, I don't know. I'm feeling nostalgic a little bit. I think Roman wants to get back in the column of the clean sheets. And I mean, like you said, I think going against Chicago Fire, he's letting in that last goal. It's got kind of that bad taste in his mouth. I'm thinking he makes another statement save in this one.
Yeah, I just feel like the guys are motivated for this. Like, you can already hear from the locker room. They're already talking about it. They're already preparing. They're getting their bodies right because there's extra emotion for some of these guys too. But I think this is your statement win of the season here, and I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go 2-0 because, ironically, Sam, we stole the U.S. men's national team games to Cincinnati, and what happened? Dos a Cero. So Dos a Cero at home against the Crew. I'm calling it.
I like it. Not bad. So, Ryan, any further thoughts on Hell is Real coming up?
Yeah, I think as we go through the week, the question is getting Miles now back integrated into the squad. So what does that look like? Do you have a little bit more depth pieces like we talked about with Flores? What does Kubo look like? Is he a possibility for a midfield sub? But I think you're going to see guys this week come out with some interesting quotes. I think if I could go and predict some, like, hey, we're ready for this. Like you said, with the Vander and Denke riding that high that they've been on here recently, it'll be a fun one. Wear your orange, get out there, support the orange and blue on a beautiful, hopefully, summer night. There's going to be a lot of rain this week, so I hope that doesn't ruin some of the vibes with it. We're going to have a TIFO, Sam. I'm excited about this too. Going to be pretty cool from what I'm hoping. But I think we've lived up to the TIFO game here recently. The Crew definitely have not.
No, yeah. So we'll show them how it's done. But Ryan, to cap off the episode here, trivia question. We're gonna hit you with it again. Going back, so how many times in FC Cincinnati's history have they had a player score more than 12 plus goals in the regular season, including USL days? Ryan, you had said 10 times, if I'm correct.
10.
Including Evander and Denke now doing it. It is 9 times in FC Cincinnati's history. The only guy that you added that shouldn't be in there is Mr. Koenig. Everybody else that you named. So you've got Akoli 2016. He had 16 goals. GB 2017, 12 goals. Ledesma 2018, 16 goals. Then you've got Brenner and Vasquez in 2022 with 18 goals. Lucho 2023 with 17 goals, and then Lucho again in 2024 with 14 goals.
What's wild is, like, these guys are at 12 already, and, like, we're talking about one of the best years that we'd seen for an FC Cincinnati player, in 2023, obviously, when he wins MVP. But look at where Evander's kind of stacking up and how this MVP race is shaping out to be this year. It's pretty incredible, the numbers these guys are putting up. Can we ride the backs of these two guys for long term? That's yet to be determined, but we're here for all of it. We appreciate you guys for listening to us tonight. Go check us out, like we mentioned, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Chatterbox Sports, YouTube page as well. We're throwing out some reels on Instagram. We're very excited again for Hell is Real coming up. Listen to us on the way down to the match. I think that's kind of a fun way to get yourself hyped up for it too. But we will see you guys next time, hopefully with a big win in Hell is Real.